Chapter 39, What a long strange trip it's been. Disclaimer: binge drinking is a bad idea, don't be like the professor. What a long strange trip it's been. Oh my head, the professor groaned. Good morning, Hench. Smiled. How are you today? Terrible, the professor replied with a wince. Could I get some hangover potion? Nope, Hench shook her head. We're all out, but I saw you brew 2 bottles of it last night, the professor protested. That was for me and Mr. Black, Hench replied smugly. Not you, but Mr. Black didn't drink much last night, the professor groaned. And you don't get hangovers, better safe than sorry. Hench was enjoying herself. I had Mr. Black drink his right after I drank mine. They are filled with vitamins, so it's good to take one now and again even if you don't have a hangover, but they taste like used socks. The professor was beginning to regret the fact that he was still alive. Why would you want to take them if you didn't have to? Only the ones I give you taste like used socks, Hench smiled. Ours taste like whatever I want them to taste like. Today they tasted like strawberry milkshakes. They were yummy. Curse you, the professor buried his head under a pillow. Where are we? We're over Atlantis, Hench smiled. Mr. Black says that he's recovered the tome and is on his way back up, so the diving bell works then. The professor's voice showed some signs of life. Yup, Hench replied brightly. And did the oxygen scrubbers. He didn't even need to use the emergency potions. Good, the professor gagged. Set a course for England as soon as he gets back. I'm back. Harry stuck his head through the doorway. Not feeling too good? No, the professor groaned. Shoulder had one of those milkshakes that Hench made this morning. Harry grinned at the memory. They tasted great. Thanks again, Hench. You're welcome, Hench replied happily. Spiteful wench, the professor added his 2 cents. Did you find that book you were looking for? Yeah. Harry pulled the book out, and I took a look through it while I was decompressing. It isn't too impressive, but what can you expect considering the author? What is it? Hench took the book out of Harry's hands and began to examine it. A cookbook, Harry sighed. It might have something you can use though. I think I saw a couple potions. Thanks, Hench said with a nod. Did you see anything else while you were down? The city is well preserved considering what happened to it and how long it's been down there. Harry spoke slowly. I think that it's worth further exploration. Are there any magical archaeologists? Not that I know of. Hench shook her head. Then maybe I'll be the first, Harry mused. I kinda enjoyed looking through the old city and I had a lot of fun in Egypt. You are good with languages, Hench added. I suppose. How long before we get to England? Within the hour, Hench sighed. One of the engines is at 30%, so it'll take longer than usual to cross the Atlantic. So, Harry checked his watch. About 8 Greenwich Mean Time sounds right. Hench did a few quick calculations in her head. I'm gonna catch a quick nap then, Harry said after a moment of thought. Call me if you need anything. Can I borrow your glasses? Hench asked hopefully. I still haven't perfected the translation charm yet. You'll get it, Harry yawned. Later, bye. Hench returned to the control room and glanced at the interments for a second. Mr. Black to the bridge. What do you need? Harry walked in a few seconds later. There is a small surface craft that appears to be suffering some sort of problem, Hench replied quickly. We'll be directly above them in about 3 seconds. I'll port down to see if they need any help, Harry said. Shouldn't take but a minute or 2, thanks. Hench favored Harry with a dazzling smile. I guess the only thing to say to that is port me down. Harry reappeared on the wooden deck of what looked like an old wooden sailing ship. Taking a few moments to gain his bearing, Harry walked up the deck in search of the ship's master. Keep running, Yaska the seagull dropping. Harry found a strange man bent over the rail and cursing at the ocean. Hello, Harry spoke up to get the man's attention. Are you alright? Yes, the odd man rasped. Need any help? Harry asked with a smile. No, the man croaked. Thank you for asking. I'll be seeing you then, Harry continued in a firm voice. Hench port me up. Harry stumbled when he reappeared on the bridge and looked around with a slightly confused expression on his face. We put an auxiliary port trans router on the bridge, Hench explained. Oh, I'll be getting some sleep if you need me for anything. Harry paused before walking out of the room. And before I forget, I need something that will hide my scent. The werewolves knew that I'd been bitten when I talked to them last night. Okay, Hench nodded. Later, we have reached England. The professor's voice awoke Harry from a sound sleep. Drink this, it'll solve your little scent problem. Thanks. Harry rubbed his eyes. Feeling better? Yes, the professor nodded. Much better? Good. Harry glanced at the clock. Anything you want to do? I have a few things that I need to take care of this morning. The professor nodded. But my afternoon and evening is free. Great, Harry replied with enthusiasm. It's good to be back, I'm sure. The professor smirked. Why don't you port down now and I shall join you later? That'll work. Harry gave a slow nod. Flow me if you need something. Will do. The professor nodded. Harry walked to the port trans room and pulled out his Zippo. Port me down. Aye, how is business, twin o' mine? Fred greeted his brother with a smile. We've just opened but I have high hopes that things will pick up, George replied. Any further speech was interrupted by the arrival of a strange man. What can we do for you? I need to talk to you too. The strange man blinked. Close the shop for an hour please. Why should we do that? What's your name, your age, your occupation, your shoe size, date of birth? Mr. Black. Harry grinned. He'd missed these too. And I think you'll be interested in hearing what I have to say, Mr. Black, the professor's boss. We'll close the shop first things first. Harry smiled. My name isn't really Mr. Black. Kinda figured that it's Harry Potter. Harry deactivate his magical items to reveal his face. Hey guys, you're Mr. Black, the 10,000-year-old ex-Dark Lord, destroyer of civilization, finder of treasure, mysterious super spy, death incarnate, the most dangerous man ever to walk the earth. What? Harry's eyes widened in shock. No, I'm just Harry. Take a look at this, mate, George said with a grin. It's your chocolate frog card, or rather Mr. Black's chocolate frog card, Fred added. Chocolate frog card. Harry took the card and began reading. Think he really did all those things? George asked his twin. Knowing Harry, Fred took a moment to think. Yes, I think he did. Boy has the worst luck, George agreed. Well, Harry stared at the chocolate frog card in shock. I guess some of this is one way of looking at it. So you didn't do all those things? George was disappointed. Not all of them, Harry spoke in a shaky voice. Some of the other things happened around me and I just happened to be in the area. Do you know what this means, Harry? The twins looked at him with expressions of anticipation. No, you pranked the entire world, bloody brilliant, Harry, good job. So anything new? Harry spoke slowly. That chocolate frog card will help normal people fight off Death Eaters. How does it work? Harry took the card and you tap it with your wand, and chocolate shoots out of it, entangling them and rendering them harmless. George finished proudly. And the best part is that it can't be used against us by Moldy and his crew of goons. It will attack anyone that is a dark mark. Snape'll never know what hit him. Fred laughed. Great idea. You guys feel cold a little? Fred looked at his twin. Now that you mention it, George walked towards the window. Looks like there are a couple Dementors outside. Damn it, Harry growled. Why does this always happen to me? Just lucky, I guess. Get out there and do your thing. I hate my life, Harry moaned as he reactivated his magical items. Why couldn't I have a nice quiet life, with a white picket fence, where nothing can bother me except maybe the odd dust bunny? Just lucky, I guess. George shrugged. Harry walked out of the shop and raised his wand and lowered his wand. On the one hand, if he used his patrons, then everyone would know that he was Harry Potter, and then the reporters and fans would never let him have a moment to himself. On the other hand, if he didn't use it, then people would die. I really hate my life, Harry mused. Looking down, he noticed that the Mr. Black chocolate frog card was still clenched in his left hand. What the hell couldn't hurt? Harry tapped the card with his wand and flicked it towards the dark creatures. About 1 meter from impact, the card exploded. The dark creatures were hit by a hot, sticky, pulsating mass of chocolate. Heads peeked out shop windows and eyes widened in astonishment as the Dementors began screeching. Well, George spoke up as the twins walked out of their shop. How do you like our new invention, Mr. Black, and do you approve of the modifications we made to your standard card? Fred asked with a grin. Good work, Harry nodded. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got a shopkeeper to severely beat. Once again, the heads in the windows disappeared as the listening merchants crawled under their desks and began to shake, each one hoping that it wasn't him that Mr. Black wanted to talk with. As a consequence of this, most of the shops in Diagon Alley opened 3 hours late and 10 people wet themselves. And, yes, it was just a quick stop in Atlantis. Harry just wanted to grab Merlin's book. With any luck, didn't destroy the format. It does that sometimes. That's one of the reasons I use the I barrier. The end is near. The next chapter is mostly written and I hope to have it out soon. Oh make, there I was. The old seaman looked around. In the Bermuda Triangle, we were running a tour and the lookout had fallen asleep. What happened? One of the children asked with wide eyes. Since there was no one watching, the monster got up close and wrapped itself around the ship. The old sailor shook his head. There was no way out, and I knew that we were all gonna die until it happened. A thick bank of fog seemed to envelop the ship, and the monster let go and began swimming away as fast as it could, and I heard footsteps. The sailor wiped his palms off on his shirt, and out of the fog, a man appeared. He was dressed all in black, and he started looking round. Finally, in a low, dangerous voice, he asked me if I was all right. What did you do? I told him I was. The sailor gave a shrill laugh. Then he asked me if I needed any help. I told him that I didn't, and he went on his way, and it was only after I got to port that I found out that Mr. Black was in the area. The sailor whispered. The monster ran because it sensed that there was a more dangerous predator in the area, and I don't go out there anymore without making sure that there are 3 lookouts and that every one of them is awake. A make for Chapter 38 by Lewin Luthana. So you know, Professor, we thought that we could make this every female costume based on slightly modified polyjuice, but we couldn't afford the ingredients in the amount we would need to make experiments safe. That's a very interesting idea, Judith. I am sure Henchgerald would be willing to offer you her advice. Your professor went silent for a moment. Mr. Black just wanted me to tell you to be careful with polyjuice experiments. Said he knows a person who found out why polyjuice and cats don't mix. Thanks for the warning, I guess. Now, would you be willing to fund production of our hole paint? What does it do? Allows you to paint real holes on the wall. When it dries, however, you can only go outside, not in. So far looks promising, but we are working on adding the train effect. That's interesting. You're half an hour later. Judith was done with the conversation. So how was it? Better than I could have expected, Brandy. They are willing to finance everything, even Roadrunner slacks you said nobody will ever even ask for. So why do you look so worried? Mr. Black gave me a warning. I don't know what to make of it. Something about polyjuice and cats not mixing well. That, I guess it slipped my mind with all the excitement of Mr. Black supporting us. What slipped your mind? You remember Ray, that boy from a team you said you had a crush on? Sure I do. What king of question if that anyway? Well, he tried to ask you out just before that detention Muffy served for you. And you know how she doesn't like that cologne he sometimes wears. So you're anyway. She slapped him so hard he nearly fell, and I believe scratched him with nails a bit, but it wasn't anything serious. I'm sure and you forgot to tell me that. Yeah, kinda, sorry. At least you can explain yourself with feminine problems partially. Yeah, so maybe he'll speak to me somewhere in the next millennium. At least I know why Mr. Black didn't say anything about me escaping detention. Probably thought this was punishment enough. After all, he is nicer than expected, but he didn't earn that fame just by coincidence. A mech by Chris Hill, Endsville, USA. Harry was on the bridge with the professor and Henchgerald, enjoying the day when he saw a creature in the middle of a town. Professor, please stop the ship. There's something I need to do. After porting down, Harry deployed his scythe, it being the wise thing to do, when he literally bumbled into another person with a scythe. The stranger, in a robe that covered his face, said, "Here now, what's the rush?" "Excuse me," Harry said, "I have to go stop that creature." "Nah," the figure replied, "no need to do that. It's just Billy's new pet. I'll get rid of it once he's bored." Harry raised an eyebrow as he noticed that none of the locals seemed to be worried. "Is this a magical town or something? I thought this was a muggle town." "Oh, it is, but here they don't worry about any of that. How about we get a cup of tea?" Harry shrugged, and then noticed the bone skull instead of a face. It figured, fine, I don't suppose there's something I should be doing. Nice scythe by the way. How does it do with the spell casting? Haven't tried it, Harry replied. I only use it occasionally. Grim nodded as they reached a local restaurant. He noticed someone with a recording device, and decided to have some fun. "So, I hear you've been on vacation, Mr. Black. When do you get back to your usual schedule?" Grim smiled. Perhaps he could do something to get the person who escaped. "A few days. It's been relaxing." "That's good," Grim replied as he signaled the waitress. "2 teas, my good woman." "So, how's life been treating you?" Harry asked, wondering if he was sleeping. "Not bad. Billy and Mandy are a handful, but they are family. If you ever repeat that, I'll deny it." However, Grim smirked back at Harry. "I've even got a part-time job at the local elementary as a substitute teacher." "Oh, I thought you'd be busier than that," Harry stated. "Well, I need to take care of those too, and everyone here is so used to seeing me that I've somewhat settled down." Grim took a sip of his tea. "I am getting a bit behind. Say now, Perhaps you could help me. Harry sighed. It had to happen. What do you need? Well, I missed someone when I was in England, and I was wondering if you would look for him. What's his name? Goes by Voldemort. I have his glass here. Grim pulled out an hourglass that didn't have any more sand pouring down from the top. I just keep missing him when I try to collect, somewhat like myself and Wormtail, somewhat, but since you're heading that way, I'll take it, Harry replied, sipping his own tea after adding a bit of honey. Thanks. Oh, if I may, can I have a small blood sample? Harry frowned. What do you need that for? Grim held up his bony hands. Nothing, just want a souvenir. Harry shrugged. Death was certainly into unusual hobbies. Okay, after getting the vial, both of them heard a voice. Okay, Grim, who is he, and why are you sitting down on the job? Mandy, I would like you to meet a friend of mine, Mr. Black. Yay, yay, unless he's going to help. Stop gabbing and stop Billy from making an even bigger fool of himself. Harry nodded. I guess I'll see you later. Port me up, Professor. After Harry left, Grim looked to see if that agent was still there with his microphone. What did you do that for, Mandy? Do you know how hard it is to even see him? What's the problem? Grim, you're the problem is that he's my boss. He's the big man in Reaping. Agent 86's eyes widened as he heard this. The town would have to be reported on naturally, but they didn't dare do anything to it if Black was letting it go. But for there to be a Grim Reaper here, and for Mr. Black to be the boss, well, the chief would have to hear this.